Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the deck lists that have so far managed to secure a Stitch here. And I know there's plenty of tournaments coming up very soon, so I've been taking some inspiration from some of the players that I know that have managed to get the job done. So the first list we're going to be checking out here is a good friend of mine, Kawa. He's been playing this Amethyst Steel list, and he's had some great success with it. And not only came second on, I think, first try getting the Stitch and the playmat as well, but also I think the day after managed to get top 8 in another one of these tournaments. So really successful overall, and we'll take a quick look at this list. As I said, is that Steel Amethyst. The main things you want to look at here is you kind of have the usual suspects of the Amethyst package, mainly focusing on card draw, the bounce, and of course the lore gain with the Merlin package, the bounce effects with the Mims, of course friends on the other side as well. As well as the Maleficent, just to help out with that incredible card draw that basically the colour is known for at this point, just really keep the pressure up. There is, of course, I think a special shout out here for a couple of cards. I think the Merlin Crabs are going to help out a ton with the trades and being able to deal with some of the more bigger character decks that you face, mainly looking at Ruby and even potential Amber as well. And also the Sorcerer's Spellbook. As I said, this deck, although it has all the card draw from the Amethyst, it does have some of that lore guarantee gain as well, with the one Spellbook just in case, and then of course the 4 Goat Merlins too. And then on the Steel side of this, I think we all know right now that Steel feels like king in terms of everyone's trying Steel X to see if it'll work because it has strong removal as well as some just great tempo options. And you can see this here with, I think, one of the main fantastic strengths of Steel right now. If we take away from the removal for just a second, you can actually just see the Captain Hook, the Robin Hood, and then of course shift into the Big Robin, which is extremely powerful super early in the game, and then the Smee as well. Mr. Smee with the Captain Hook, you can stop the damage happening on when you exhaust it, but also it's just a 2-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 2, an incredibly powerful card, maybe one of the stat for stat most powerful cards in the game, honestly, right now. And I think Kawa has actually told me that was the card that just did the most work, and you can see it in the matchups against some of the beefier decks. Well, he's a 2-drop that quests for 2 and doesn't really die that easily. And then in some of the matchups where it's a bit more aggro focused, or some of the other color combinations, like for example Emerald aren't really playing too much that deals with Smee cleanly right now, so you can just start farming some of the cheaper aggro tools, and it just helps even more if you do have that hook. The combination of those two, one after the other in an opening, really just stops any aggressive plans. Also, I think finally, just to touch on the Pinocchio there, the 3 of in this list, just going to be nice for being able to just snipe the awkward cards if your opponent's holding back some key cards and waiting to be able to just go for a mega quest. One extra note as well that Kawa did mention to me was the ability of the 3 Bengers that kind of jump in and out of lists. But having them alongside the Amethyst package means that you can actually bounce Benger against these item heavy decks, which can give you a lot of work. Like you could say versus the Flute builds, which aren't super popular, at least not at the moment that I've played against, but also any of the Sapphire builds, right, that have these items. You can just Benger on 3, quest on 4, and then bounce it and go again to take out some of the Popsicles, for example, or maybe some of even the more key ones. So yeah, really solid list. I've been recently playing a Steel Amethyst version myself, but one that was way more aggro. But I can see that this has like a mixture of aggressive tools if needed, but also kind of that inevitability with the locations, the repetitive lore gain, and the removal to try and push your opponent off the board. So really cool list, and that's it for the first one. Next up, another member of Podcarn. I believe all 3 of them actually got their Stitches basically first tries. But here we have Moyen, a player I've known a while back from Hearthstone days, as well as not only Hearthstone Lorcana, but also Marvel Snap, and also I believe One Piece and probably every other card game that's ever existed at the moment. Moyen, an exceptionally good player, and doing it once again, this time with a classic, which is Ruby Amethyst, a deck I know, or an archetype at least, I know Moyen has been playing more or less since his day one of starting Lorcana quite a while back now, and it looks what I would call fairly standard, right? It's all the usual suspects. I know at times minis were getting cut, the 3-drop mini with the evasive, but I think bringing them back in recently has been pretty good, because evasive is just something that a good chunk of decks just don't really deal with that well. Even if you like, not many 2 decks are running evasives right now anyway, so they pretty much require removal, or they're just going to jam quest constantly and start really stacking up that lore. Outside of that, as you can see, the usuals, the Mauis of course, are probably, you know, one of the beefiest cards that's played consistently right now. The 2 Tremaines and 2 Madame Medusas to help with that removal, and then of course the bounce package, the quest package, 3 Be Prepareds on the top, and then that 1 Pinocchio again. I know there's been conversations about one-ofs or how many cards in list and so on and so on, but I think with a deck that can draw so many cards, if you look at this, there's Chernobygs, there's the Cuscos, Mims, of course, to then bounce Maleficents or Merlin Rabbits, Friends on the other side, even the Queen's Castle. There's so much card draw that, at least in some of the more slower matchups, you're probably going to get to the Pinocchio if you require it, right? And it's probably going to be able to get some level of use, especially when much later on in the game, you can just guarantee some good trades with Maui. So really solid list overall. One thing I will mention with this list is that I think a huge benefit, and I think this is probably true just across all of Lorcana, is a huge benefit of this list is this archetype's been around pretty much since launch of the game, and Moyen has been playing it that long, right? So I do think it's an archetype that like really does pop off even more the more you are used to it, the more used to controlling the resources, when to be prepared, how to set up for be prepareds, and also just when to actually use up this removal and really control the board, because that's what the deck's pretty much all about. You want to secure the board with that early game and then keep your opponent off with the likes of Maui, Tremaine, Medusa, Be Prepared, and then just win through that lore generation. So a quick one here, nothing too crazy to talk about, but a really solid list here from Moyen. And again, if you are a Ruby Amethyst player and you have been for a long time, maybe you should stick with it for some more of these tournaments. Next up is another player I've known a very, very long time by the name of Savjz. He's really taken Lorcana by storm, especially on Pixelborn, fighting for that rank 1 spot. This time he got the job done with this Ruby Sapphire deck, a deck he's saying he thinks is truly amazing. And you can see the sort of interesting build this is as well, because there's a lot of cards that you don't see too often, or at least I have not seen too often in builds like this. So you do see the usual suspects, right? You can see all of the ramp, all of the card draw as well, which is something that Savjz leans towards, with like how far it'll go, with Tala as well. And then you see the red package to really hold up that idea, right? With the Maui, the Tremaines, although it's 1 Tremaine and 4 Medusa in this list, the 4 Be Prepareds, the Scars, and the Maleficents. So I would be very interested to hear from Savjz here. He does have a YouTube video which I can send you over to as well. Will be in the comments, all the links to all the people I've been talking about here, of course. But the idea here is you basically hold on in the early game, completely ramp up as you do with Sapphire a lot of the time, and then once you can land a Be Prepared or just anything to clear up the board, whether it's Be Prepared or, you know, the Maui into the Tremaine or Medusa, then you can really keep them off the board and then start questing for 1,000,000, and then those lucky dimes are in the background as well, always to keep an eye on. So super powerful deck, and I think if you are a fan of the Sapphire playstyle, then this is definitely one to take a look at. In speaking to Kawa as well, he's looking at potentially playing Sapphire Ruby in the near future as well. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things going on here, and honestly, make sure you check out not only Savjz's YouTube but his stream as well to see him play, because he has started streaming it quite a lot, and it's definitely cool to see how he approaches the game, as well as just his overall thoughts in general. But yeah, I think the highlights for me really are seeing the Grandma Talas in there, and a bit of a focus on, like, really deep focus on the ramp along with card draw, as I mentioned, with how far I'll go, the 1 jumps ahead, even develop your brains, all like maxing out at 4-ofs, which is sometimes some of the cards you see people cut or at least reduce down. So yeah, really cool to take a look at here, and yet again another different list if you're looking for something a little bit spicy that has took home the Stitch. So yeah, again, make sure to check out all of these players. I'll have the links under the videos. I hope you enjoyed just a little bit of a highlight to how some of these players have been having success and with what deck lists, and I will see you next time.